Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, friends. March 20th, 2020, a year ago today, if this video comes out at the right time, is a date that will be a memorable one. For good or bad, I don't really know, just memorable. The week leading to what would eventually become the first UK national lockdown of the Backstreet Boys reunion tour was a very interesting one from start to finish. To basically give you some context, this time last year I was in the last year of a media studies course before going off to university. And basically at that time we were gearing up for a filming/editing exam. Now, some of us were already in trouble because the brief threw the whole class entirely off guard, and things were very quickly becoming difficult to do even without putting COVID in the picture. But nonetheless, people were getting to work on their 2-minute scenes in some way or form. I was badly behind because I didn't know how to do what I wanted to do or how to even do it right, really. So in somewhat of a selfish way, COVID was actually a saving grace for me. More on that later. For weeks at that point, a few of us, the lunch crew for want of a better term, were constantly looking up the stats on the coronavirus situation. From the moment it had first gotten pressed to the moment it had started getting a case in the UK and then it spread from there, we were checking it all the time. So we very much knew things were happening, but they were happening fast. And I remember vividly that I was secretly hoping that there would be an exam-disrupting shutdown of all schools in the country, just so I could get out of this. Well, what eventually became the last week happened. And at the start of the week, it was very much still all guns blazing in terms of filming and scripting all of our bits. And I was involved in a lot of people's filming almost every day that week. And there was a nice moment that I remember in that week where once we were done filming for the thing that we were filming for, I think we ordered a Pizza Hut from Uber Eats and celebrated with that, while also playing Kinect Sports on the 360. Something I'd love to do again once this is all over. I know you've heard a million people say that before, but just shut up. Speaking of which, if you're subbed to the SLI channel, you may have seen a video of us playing Kinect Sports. That was only a few weeks before we went into lockdown, fun fact. When this is all done, we've got to finish Assassin's Creed on the 360. We've been talking about that for the whole year. So anyway, shit hit the fan in the middle of the week. We were in the process of filming something when on the TV comes Boris Johnson walking up to the podium to announce that all schools across the UK would be shut down from Friday afternoon onwards. Now, we were all very happy to hear the news, as you could imagine, as it meant that our scenes that we'd had so much trouble filming now didn't need to go ahead. What was interesting, though, was that evening we had an email from our teacher basically saying, you must bring the equipment back tomorrow, please. I will brief you on what happens next. And so that following morning, we got all the shit together that we'd borrowed in terms of equipment, and we drove it in. And it was at that point that we started to get a sense of the fact that things were different. It was an extremely surreal time from there on. We walked in with all the equipment, and then we got quite a stark message from our teacher that we weren't expecting. He goes, well, of course, that's it now, nothing to do, the exams are cancelled, so basically just go back on all your old work and improve everything that you can for that to be graded on. Which, fine, but what we didn't quite expect is what he would say next, which essentially was something along the lines of, it's likely that you won't be coming back. This is your last week. Tomorrow is your last day. And quite frankly, everyone who was in the room at that point was stunned. We had assumed at that point that it would be like 2 or 3 weeks and then we'd be back in. And not only that, we had become very close-knit as a class at that point. And we had all geared up to leave in May, but not right now. So it really was quite an indescribable mood in the room that day. And I remember at that point, due to existing coronavirus fears, that the school was already quite empty at that point. I think even forms were disbanded. And so all that was left was just us in the room that we knew best on our last days. It was like we were inhabiting the dead corpse of a school building at that point. It is really super weird to think back on. That was Thursday, and the day didn't stop there. A few of us decided to just spontaneously get together and go to the park in an attempt to process everything that had happened and everything that was to come. And not before I'd bought an emergency USB stick to download basically the last 7 years of my life on. And that moment in the park is something I will always remember. The clouds were suitably grey, the mood was something that I don't think we had ever experienced like that before. Stories were shared, lockdown ideas were thought up, and I think it's fair to say we were a little scared and saddened by everything that was happening at that point. It was somewhat of a calming moment at such a mad time. That evening, a close friend of ours posted into our class's group chat a video in a raw moment how thankful he was to have that class. It was extremely personal, so I won't go into details, but it was basically super sweet, and it nearly made us cry when we saw it. And then Friday came. We were still getting on with things in the morning, knowing that the end was to come just a few hours later. Some early goodbyes from the few people in the other classes that were still there. They were happening. But otherwise, we were on to working, and I was on to downloading very quickly. Now, earlier in the year, a few of us had an idea to prepare an awards show for later in the year, so that it could coincide with when we thought we were leaving in May. We first decided to cancel it on Thursday evening, knowing what we knew now at that point. But then my friend Jack had the idea, why don't we just do it now? And so we got to work building a whole ass awards show in basically under 2 hours. The certificates, the PowerPoint, the music, the everything. And we'd already made up the award titles and sent out a survey like a month or two before. So we had all the data we needed to make this. And indeed, we got it done. It was such a nice moment. And it kind of allowed us some sort of closure at that point. My friend Louis kind of made like a look back video, and he put together basically all of the clips that he could find of all of us in the class, which was really nice of him. And at that point, the waterworks broke for quite a few people. I think I remember I'd won an award for like most likely to be semi-decent at something or something like that. And after Jack and I had finished presenting the awards show, she came up to me and hugged me going, what was it? She said to me tearfully, you better be more than semi-decent. And so she gave a closing message to the class, but so did our other teacher. And the way what he said made me feel in that moment is something I will definitely remember forever. It was very much like a proper season finale moment, you know? It's just a shame that I couldn't actually remember what he said, though. No, but I do remember he said something like, you've made memories in here that you'll remember forever. And you've really come together as basically a family over these last 2 years. So I really want you to remember that as you leave. I fully believe that you're all going to make your mark on the world wherever you go next. I think something I will never forget is one of my friends, ultimately one of the very few people that I actually got to hug and properly say goodbye to on the last day as such, posted an astonishingly raw cover of Hallelujah that she performed with just her ukulele on top of the stairs of the school's drama department. And I think she said that she was the only person there on the last day. No teachers, no students in drama, just her. In a bittersweet way, she was able to reminisce and reflect on where she was while being basically alone and reflected on everything in the way that she knows best with music. I don't even think I could fully begin to imagine how that must have felt in that moment. That must have been something. And so, for the very last time ever, we made our way out of the building. People sang their last goodbyes, unfortunately some cut short. And that was because by 3 p.m. we had to leave because at that point the national school shutdown would have become law and we had to be out of the building. And I remember very well that I was the last one to leave, and I think I was the last person that those teachers, or at least the last student that those teachers said goodbye to that day. And once we were walking to the exit, our friend found it very surreal and he kept saying, you know, I can't believe it. I can't believe it, man. I don't really want to go. I don't want to leave. But of course we had to. And, we kicked off the end in style. After that, we'd bought drinks. We were all of age before any of you start. We went to a park, about 6 or 10 of us from the whole class. And we just drunk the hour away. Some more than others, along with a lot of our sorrows at that point. Some played football. Some enjoyed being drunk more than they should have. Some enjoyed watching others being drunk more than they should have. And then someone kicked a ball further than he should have. We're not going to let you live that down. And then sooner or later, that was it. And it was really bittersweet. But you know what? In that moment, I could not have asked for a better send-off. And that night, I decided to do a stream. I was already doing weekend streams, so this one would have been no different had things not changed. But obviously today was different. And so with the way things fell, I played a very sad song that I'd been listening to in the wake of everything happening. Tom Odell's Silhouette, by the way. Such a painful but gorgeous song. And while comfortably being live to no one, with no one watching, I decided to give a heartfelt message and reflect on how I was feeling live. I hadn't seen this VOD, and honestly I didn't know it existed, for 11 months. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever in the world. Welcome to a very strange week, very strange day. Well, strange day? Every day is becoming a stranger and stranger day. Every day feels more and more surreal as we go along, and it especially in this week has been a very interesting week, let's say. And if you've been with me in any capacity in the last 2 years, in a personal matter, I want to say Thank you very much for being there. It's been a pleasure to be working with all of you over the last 2 years. You've been such great people, and it's been lovely getting to know you. And I'm sure that as much as I think everyone is, I'm definitely sorry that it's ended this way, that it's had to come to this, and that yesterday was potentially the last time some of us will ever step foot in that particular classroom that we've been in consistently for the past 2 years. But regardless, it's been fun, it's been a pleasure, it's been a struggle at times, but on reflection, it's been one worth having. And it's a shame that that a spreadable virus has to end it where it is. And I know a lot of people are in the same boat right now. It's not even just in my class. It's a bunch of people have had very emotional send-offs across the UK in terms of their schools and whatnot. And so if you've been affected by that, I just want to say you're definitely not alone in that boat, for sure. A lot of people have found it a bit of a struggle. I mean, how we let's just say a group of us definitely celebrated, but we'll leave it at that. Yeah, thank you guys, and if you're just a regular viewer on Twitch right now and you have no idea what kind of shit I'm spouting out, then you clearly haven't been listening the past 6 minutes. But no. That video was really interesting for me to look back on a year later. It was the night that everything had happened. No one was watching me live. So it was basically me being able to have a very important moment with myself for about half an hour. And it's almost quite emotional to see me processing this kind of there and then. And then immediately after that, tried to gain a sense of normality by just throwing myself straight into a game to pretend that everything's fine, nothing's wrong, because I made a commitment not to mention COVID in the streams. That didn't happen. But like I touched on in that video, I want to say thank you to all of you. From the teachers to you guys in that class, you really made that experience what it was. It was unlike nothing I'd had at that point, and I think we all didn't realize just truly what we had until it was brutally cut short. I love and cherish all of you guys very deeply, and while quite a few of you are still with me where I am now, if you aren't, and even if you are really, I sincerely wish the world for you in whatever you're doing and wherever you're going. And most importantly, I hope you've been doing okay this year. I really do, because man, it's been something. And yeah, that's it really. Here we are, a year later. Thanks if you watched this. This might have been bordering on light therapy rather than a normal YouTube video, but I thought it was important to make given everything. Me and the guys, we've been thinking about this day basically all week, so I thought I had to say something and get my thoughts out. I'm going to try and make regular videos every Wednesday, or at least most Wednesdays. Let's see how that goes around. I'm also on Twitch anyway as well if you wanted to know, but yeah, see you around.